The series I am teaching is called the Visualization Practice of Compassion and Bodhicitta, and it has reached the 32nd episode. But not to worry. You can go straight to each episode to watch it. You do not have to watch all previous episodes before this one. This is not the case. Each episode can be watched independently. However, if after this episode and you think it can really help you, you want to go deep in your Dharma study, you can watch the previous episodes to be coherent. Then you will not have any deficiencies in the Dharma. When you practice it, you will be more complete and perfect with high proficiency. That is my expectation of you. Whichever episode you find that you really want to learn more, I do hope that you can start from the first episode and watch the complete series to be coherent. Okay, what is the title of the 32nd episode we are teaching today? The title is In the Present Lifetime, that is, this life of yours. And through the current body means that you may not have finished this life yet. Before your life is ended, you can use your body to become a Buddha. There is a difference in terms of the time it takes to become a Buddha, or the time it takes to verify that we can escape reincarnation. What is the secret to the success of these two Dharma practices? This session will explore it in more depth. Before I start the lecture formally, I will go through the highlights of this episode. The first one is that after Buddha Shakyamuni became a Buddha, he still had to receive 10 kinds of retribution. So, can the same types of retribution be received during the same period? This means that sometimes you watch judges deal with cases where the accused have committed several crimes. The first one may be to imprison him for 5 years, and the second one may be to only imprison him for 3 months, which he will serve at the same time. In other words, he will only be imprisoned for 5 years, the longest one, not 5 years and 3 months. The 3 months will not be counted separately. The 5 years have already included the 3 months. This is called concurrent execution. So, within the law of cause and effect, or according to the principles of cause and effect, when we have committed some deeds, for example, in the case of Buddha Shakyamuni, he violated this precept in this life and he violated that precept in another life. Could these be retributed at the same time? Today, we will quote the case of Buddha Shakyamuni to give a verified answer. Secondly, Buddha Shakyamuni is a Buddha. Is this possible for him, but not necessarily for us? After all, can ordinary people have retribution of the same types at the same time? Here we are talking about the same type of retribution. Our judges in this world sometimes judge cases of different types, but for the same case and different types of crimes, he can carry out the punishment at the same time. But now if they are of the same type, not different types, and they are all the same thing, then should it be the same, for the punishment to be executed at the same time? Is this possible for ordinary people? You will be given the answer in today's teaching. Thirdly, will there be the same retribution for the same type of actions? Even if the same person commits the same thing. He commits the same thing and again in another life. Almost the same, there is little difference, very little. Will he suffer the same retribution? Or will there be a little, or a lot of difference in the retributions? Then there are bystanders. There are bystanders in every case, witnessing what happens. We often witness certain events taking place on TV, on YouTube, or other media. We may witness a case that is taking place right in front of our eyes, or some case that had already occurred. I am just listening to people's stories, or watching videos of these cases. I am also considered a bystander. I do not necessarily have to be a bystander by witnessing them at the scene. When I watch it happening, in this case, my mind will definitely think about something, my mouth will say something, and my body will even make some moves, very excitedly. Will we be involved in this incident and suffer the same retributions? That is, can bystanders withdraw completely and just pretend that nothing happens as if they have watched a show? Will they have any retribution? Will they be pulled by the karma involved in this matter? We will also answer this question today. Next, if our minds are different from those of bystanders, or even that of the main person involved in the case, however, I have seen it happen and I also get involved. I may be one of them, in the scene, or even a part of them. But my character is different from theirs. Will I have a different kind of retribution? I will give you the answer today. What if I only echoed with a few words? I am a bystander, watching the event happen. I have chip in, even the people next to me could not hear what I said. I just said it to myself. Is it enough to involve me in this incident, with just one word, or echo what is said? Do I have to suffer the same retribution? There will be a very clear answer for you today. Next, if I only commit some evil deeds with my words and thoughts, but my body does not do anything, will the evil retribution I suffer be lessened? Next, if there is a person who is very virtuous and pure, and he commits some evil deeds, will the evil retribution he suffers be lessened? In the initial stage of our Dharma practice, we must cultivate the so-called the level without doubts, until we have complete faith that will not waver. We must cultivate 10 kinds of faith, and we must get full marks before we can enter another stage of practice. In fact, can we skip the level, so that it can be faster? We also talked about it in the last session, and quoted some Buddhist sutras. It turns out that just cultivating this level without doubts will take hundreds of millions of years and many kalpa, at least one or several kalpa. Wouldn't this mean that it will take a very long time to succeed in Dharma practice? But you claim that esoteric Buddhists can become a Buddha through the current body in the present lifetime. How on earth can this be achieved? Can I skip levels in my Dharma practice? Next, what is the relationship between each link of the 10 beliefs and the level without doubts? The 10 beliefs are themselves independently, or are they somehow related to each other? Is it possible for us to selectively focus on cultivating only 1 or 2 beliefs? For example, the first belief of the 10 beliefs is that you must have the faith. If you practice esoteric Buddhism, of course you must have faith in your guru. Only then can you accept and practice the Dharma taught by your guru. Esoteric Buddhism often states to believe in the guru only. Then, can I only choose 1 or 2 kinds of faith from the 10 beliefs, one being the faith in the guru? While practicing esoteric Buddhism, the first of the 10 beliefs we emphasize is to have faith in the guru. Can we ignore the other 9? If I cultivate the 10 beliefs without deviation in mind, does this mean that I will definitely be able to accomplish, through the current body in the present lifetime? Achievement can include escaping from reincarnation, or becoming a Buddha. Can I achieve it? In this session, we will also use the oral pith instructions from the Diamond Sutra to teach this. Of course, we will also quote some real cases of Buddha Shakyamuni to work with Diamond Sutra's oral pith instructions to help us escape from reincarnation, or become a Buddha. Okay, let's talk a little bit about this. It does not matter if you want to escape from reincarnation, or become a Buddha. Clearly stated in some Buddhist sutras, you must go through 52 stages before you can become a Buddha. Even if you want to escape from reincarnation, you must at least complete more than half of the stages. Must it that many? How long will it take? You can watch again for the detailed explanation of the 52 stages, which we also call the 5 paths and 10 levels. You can also re-watch the classification of Dharma practice, Essence of Emptiness, available on the TV channel of our Dudjom Buddhist Association, International's YouTube. You can see it there. You will find that we start from the first step of level without doubts. We must cultivate it to be completely unshakable. There are 10 kinds of beliefs that support us to reach this position. If we cultivate to full marks and reach the position of no doubts, we will never have any doubts, be unwavering, absolutely unwavering, and will not deviate. Then from there, we can practice to complete and perfect the 4 preliminaries, which will take 1 Asamkhya Kalpa to achieve. How long is 1 Asamkhya Kalpa? It is equivalent to experiencing a universe 10 to the 51st power. The entire universe experiences formatting, existing, destroying and emptying. It is established, lives here and runs, and then begins to deteriorate, to the point of being shattered into dust and empty. The time required for these 4 stages is extremely long, and it takes 10 to the 51st power to go through that long. This is called an Asamkhya Kalpa. The time is too long to be calculated by a computer. Does it take that long to cultivate to this level? But you say that esoteric Buddhism allows one to become a Buddha through the current body. How can this be achieved? Okay, let's assume you cannot do it. Buddha Shakyamuni made it very clear. If you cannot do it, even if you have completed the 4 preliminaries with full marks and move to the next stage, from the first level to the 7th level, you will need one more Asamkhya-kalpa, a second Asamkhya-kalpa. Then you move from the 8th level, the level of immovable, meaning that one will never retreat and continue to practice the Dharma very steadily, unlike previous withdrawals and starting overs which cause a huge delay. Even if you are incredible, and have reached the position as Bodhisattva of the 8th level, and will never regress. In this way, from the 8th level to the 10th level, only these 3 stages will require one more Asamkhya-kalpa for 3 stages. You may not become a Buddha in this way. But of course you can escape from reincarnation. You should have no problem with this. However, you still have to count the 10.5 stage, Bodhisattva of equivalent Bodhisattva, and the 11th stage, wonderful enlightenment, universal light position, to get to the perfect enlightenment before you can become a Buddha. This is called the ultimate, meaning very thorough, and must be in place. To reach this position, it will require more than 3 Asamkhya-kalpa, right? Yes, it really takes a long time, and it takes a long time for many people. But esoteric Buddhism claims that one can become a Buddha, through the current body and in the present lifetime. So, how can you do it? One reason for this is that a miss is as good as a mile. When you first start practicing the Dharma, in which direction and goal do you practice? If you practice the Dharma using exoteric Buddhist teachings, Mahayana exoteric Buddhist teachings, using Mahayana exoteric Buddhist methods, it will be slow because you start from focusing on the cause and not on the result. Slowly moving from cause to result will inevitably be slow. But esoteric Buddhism is different. When you work hard and practice directly on the result, it will of course be faster. So, what is cause and what is result? Let's take a look. It is that you must have some substantial practice methods. These practice methods should not only be used by you in daily life, but also in the visualization of your daily meditational Dharma practice. You must have this element, which can help you transform your mind into wisdom. That is how we can achieve it. As you know, our Dharma practice is divided into meditational and post-meditational parts. The post-meditational Dharma practice concerns whether it can be applied in daily life. Can all the theoretical aspects of Buddhism, as well as the things in the visualization rituals that I actually practice, be applied in daily life? The purpose of applying is not to be able to say, I'm incredible. I can also visualize myself as a deity. No, this is not our goal. This is definitely not the ultimate goal. If it is, you are not expected to become a Buddha. What are we aiming for exactly? To transform the mind into wisdom, no matter in a meditational or post-meditational Dharma practice. And you must also train until you have the 5 wisdoms, the 5 kinds of wisdom. Moreover, the direction of our Dharma practice is to focus on that awareness and to enhance the awareness. That is, if you only visualize the deity without that awareness, training in your mind, you will not be able to apply it in your daily life. You may even not understand whether you have made any mistakes. In other words, you do not know how to correct it, and you do not know where you have gone wrong, right? It is impossible for you to escape from reincarnation, or become a Buddha through such Dharma practice. This is absolutely impossible. That is, no matter how many empowerments you have had, how many rituals you have practiced, how complex the ritual is, and how confident you are that you can fully perform the things in this ritual, all you do is superficial. The real core of all rituals must be about the awareness. If there is no awareness training in the ritual, this is definitely a ritual that cannot even help you escape from reincarnation. This is what some people out there are doing, making up some rituals, and you believe them to be true and think they are great dharmas. What are great dharmas? Great dharmas are all about the awareness. A dharma without the awareness is simply inferior to the dharma. It cannot be called the true dharma, let alone the great dharmas, right? The dharma that can greatly enhance your awareness is called the great dharma, right? If not, how can it help you escape from reincarnation or become a Buddha, right? Many dharma practitioners nowadays, especially esoteric Buddhist practitioners, practice with a few stacks of rituals, thinking that they are really incredible, and that they are successful in their dharma practice when they can visualize the deity in daily life. They are all wrong, in fact. Why? If you look at it more carefully, what is our ultimate goal? It is to escape from reincarnation and become a Buddha. What must it include? In this process, whether you go from the first level to the 10.5 level, it is all about the awareness. So, accomplishing the 10.5 level can then be called the Bodhisattva of equivalent enlightenment. It means that his awareness is almost of the level. This is called the Bodhisattva of equivalent enlightenment. In the end, if you really reach 100% perfect enlightenment, this is called wonderful enlightenment. This is called becoming a Buddha. That is, reaching the 11th level is our ultimate goal. Even if you go halfway and want to escape from reincarnation, you still must have the awareness, albeit not 100%. In other words, you still need to cultivate the awareness after all. This is the most important. That is, when you start from the beginning and cultivating the level without doubts of the 10 beliefs, there must be an element of awareness in your rituals and things you want to apply when you practice the Dharma in daily life. If you do not have it, you cannot achieve it. In other words, you must connect with the result from the very beginning. What is this result? It is the awareness. So, esoteric Buddhists practice on the result. As soon as you start practicing, you cultivate the awareness. You may say, no, I have also practiced the esoteric Buddhism. When did my guru ever teach me to cultivate the awareness? He only taught me to visualize the appearance of the deity. This is because he has left out the most important part of his teaching to you. He has only taught you the surface and superficial skills, while you have become so arrogant that you think you are the deity yourself. You already feel very satisfied and consider it to be a 100-point ritual. But let me tell you, no matter how many lives you practice until you die, no matter how many lives you practice for as long as 3 greater Samkhya Kalpa, you will definitely not be able to achieve your goal. And you may not even be able to go to a Buddha's pure land. I have already said in the previous session that to go to a Buddha's pure land, there are provisions for cultivating the awareness of the pure land and the Bodhisattva, which are written in the Buddhist sutras. Then why didn't the person who taught me tell me about it? It is because he does not understand. As you know, everyone interprets Buddhist sutras superficially. The superficial interpretation, which may not even score 1 point, makes you think that you have scored 100 points. Do you understand? That is, no matter what you practice, whether you practice exoteric or esoteric Buddhism, or whether you just recite Namo Buddha Amitabha, if you do not connect with the awareness, it will be useless no matter how you practice the Dharma, and you will not even be able to reach the Buddha's pure land. Therefore, we must start with the 10 faiths, take the first step, and win at the starting line. How to win at the starting line? You must cultivate the awareness. All your 10 beliefs must be cultivated with the awareness and integrated. Only in this way can they be useful. In other words, this level without doubts, the 10 beliefs, are very important to us. The chapter of the names of holy sages, upper volume of the Sutra of the Garland of a Bodhisattva's primary karmas, mentions the 10 beliefs. The 10 beliefs: the first is the faith, which has been taught in the previous 2 lectures. The second is remembrance. The third is zeal. The fourth is wisdom. The fifth is meditational concentration. The sixth is non-retrogression. The seventh is dedication of merits. The eighth is protection of the Dharma. The ninth is sila, moral discipline, and the 10th is aspiration. We have spent 2 sessions explaining the faith in detail, because it is so important. It is the most important cornerstone among the 10 beliefs. Without it, the next 9 will only scratch the surface and your Dharma practice will be a complete mess. Without the first one, it will not work. That is why we spent 2 sessions. You can watch episode 30 and episode 31 of our Compassion series for clear explanations. The main point is that you must find someone to teach you Dharma. This person is your guru. Even if you practice exoteric Buddhism, you need someone to teach you. This is your guru. However, an exoteric Buddhist guru is not responsible for teaching you to a certain point. He would only provide a few Buddhist teachings. Whether you understand or not is your business. If you ask him, he may not answer you, nor will he follow up on your Dharma practice. So, what you learn is really superficial. But there are rules for an esoteric Buddhist guru. To be called a guru, there are rules. The rules mean that he must be able to represent Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. He is the collective body of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. But everyone claims that he is a guru. How do I know that he is the collective body of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha? If he can represent Buddha, it means he must know how to talk about emptiness. If he does not know how to talk about emptiness, then he does not even know how to lead you to become a Buddha, and lead you into the state of awareness. How can he represent Buddha? That is, he is unable to represent Buddha. As for Dharma, he should at least be able to talk about the Dharma. He should know how to explain the basics. He should be able to talk the basics of emptiness. If his teaching can score 3 points, he is called a 3-point guru. But whether he can represent Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha depends on how well he explains emptiness. There is no need to ask about Sangha. As long as he has made the Bodhisattva vows and truly practices it to teach you, he can be called a Bodhisattva Sangha. He represents Sangha. So, Sangha is not concerned with whether one has become a monk or not. You will know this if you have read some Buddhist sutras, or watch our previous sessions. Only if one represents the collective body of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha can he be a guru. If you can find these gurus who are able to teach the awareness, that is, he is able to explain emptiness, either existence nor voidness, they should not just read the meaning literally, but really teach you how to cultivate the awareness. If you have faith in this kind of guru, this will meet the requirements of first of the 10 beliefs, faith. Put your faith in these people. Otherwise, you can only score a few points at most. Put faith in the Dharma, Buddha Shakyamuni's sutras. But you are still far away from reaching 100 points on faith, because you are short of a lot of things. You do not have such a guru to teach you methods on practical training. You still lack a lot. What is remembrance? Remembrance means continuous thoughts, each thought is connected and continuous. There will be no empty space in the middle. It will not be a period of time without. Upon what the continuous thoughts hang on to? On the faith and the state of mind. Faith means that your confidence is buckled with the Dharma and Buddha Shakyamuni's teaching of the Dharma, plus your confidence in your guru, the kind of guru who can truly represent Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Only when you stay in an unshakable state can you develop a truly correct remembrance. This remembrance includes your faith, the first point. Only by holding it in place can you create a correct state of mind. What is the state of mind? It is the ritual you often practice, or the state you contemplate in your daily Dharma practice. What does this refer to? That is, whether or not you can modify your behavioral formulas in your daily life, remembering that the guru asks me to modify my behavioral formulas. This is your state of mind in daily life. It is to modify your behavioral formulas. As you know, we are pulled and controlled by various pulling forces in daily life. Sometimes, your supervisor at work scolds you. The colleague next to you scolds you. Then, you are scolded by your elders at home. Will you lose control of your emotions when you are in various states of pulling forces, and under various pressures in life? You would completely forget that you are a Dharma practitioner. You have a state of mind to constantly remember to modify your behavioral formulas, and cultivate against the circumstances. When someone scolds you, you immediately know that, I firmly believe in cause and effect, and I want to develop the wisdom of equality, I firmly believe in cause and effect. I must have scolded him before, so I am scolded by him now. Then, should I get emotional and fight back with all my greed, hatred and ignorance, or should I develop the awareness? This is your state of mind. If you can develop the awareness, this is your state of mind. I've developed the awareness and firmly believe in cause and effect. I've initiated the wisdom of equality. The next step is, of course, to continue with the mind cultivating procedure we have taught. This is your state of mind in daily life. What about my meditational Dharma practice? The meditational Dharma practice is based on the state of mind of your ritual. What is it? It is the deity you want to visualize, the mind represented by that deity. Is there any way for you to be deeply connected with him and turn his mind, the mind of the deity Buddha, into your own mind and the awareness. This is your state of mind. You can turn it into a kind of the awareness that really comes from yourself and use it as a guide to practice. This is your state of mind. Only in this way can you develop the awareness of the Buddha that you originally have. Otherwise, how can you become a Buddha? That is, your state of mind is very important. Let me tell you, it is extremely important. This mind state includes faith. You must never drive away the mind state of your faith. If you do, it means that you never truly practice what your guru teaches you. Your state of mind will be deviated, and you will have the opportunity to make mistakes. You will also have the opportunity to withdraw. So, we must see clearly the 10 beliefs of the level without doubts are in fact a cause. When you start to plant a cause for Dharma practice, you have to connect it with a result. What is this result? It is the awareness. That is, a cause and an effect that must be connected to practice. Your state of mind must also be tied to your faith, or they must be connected with each other. Your state of mind cannot be without your faith in the first step. Then add the state of mind relating to the awareness in order to succeed in the Dharma practice. If your state of mind has nothing to do with the awareness, I can tell you, no matter how you practice, you will never be able to develop the awareness. This is easy to understand. I think even kindergartners can understand it. It is all because of the cause and effect. Only if you plant this cause, can you have this result. When you sow this cause, cultivating the 10 beliefs, without any awareness in all of the beliefs, without following your guru's teachings, then how can you possibly achieve the result of your Dharma practice? You even boast that everyone needs to spend 3 Asamkhya Kalpa to cultivate, but I'm particularly powerful. My deity is very powerful, with 5 heads and 6 arms. So, I'll definitely become a Buddha through my current body. This is wrong. It is wrong. This happens because you do not understand the Dharma. If you say that your guru teaches this, then your guru cannot be called the collective body of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. It means that he cannot be called a guru, and it means that you have been taught wrongly. So, you must know this. It is very easy to understand, in fact. You may say, what evidence do you have? Now I will give you the evidence. The best evidence must be the Buddhist sutras narrated by Buddha Shakyamuni himself, approved also by the exoteric Buddhists. If I refer to the esoteric Buddhist tantras, the exoteric Buddhists will definitely say, I will not even read it. I won't listen to anything other than what the Buddha said. I'd only listen to what Buddha Shakyamuni said. Because esoteric Buddhist tantras teach many things that other Buddhas taught. So, they are called esoteric tantras. When I teach, you will find that I never give examples from the esoteric Buddhist tantras. I only use exoteric teachings. Why? Because I hope that they can all go deep into the vast ocean of the Dharma, to truly understand the Dharma, and not to be paranoid about, I can only listen to what Buddha Shakyamuni said, and I will not listen to what other Buddhas say. I do not want them to be like this. Should I not quote what Buddha Shakyamuni said, if that is the only way to make them have faith? This is one of the most important reasons why every time I teach, I refer only to the exoteric Buddhist literature. Have I taught this before? In fact, I already started talking about things relating to the great perfection from the esoteric Buddhist tantras in the first episode. I talked about it, but some people said, it's too profound. It's too profound, Guru. I've just started. Can you talk about something easier? Some may have reached the intermediate level and say, Guru, you often tell stories in such a shallow way. I think it's too easy. Some may have already understood some basics about the perfection completion. Guru, how can you not be teaching the higher level awareness of the great perfection? In order to take into account all levels of exoteric and esoteric Buddhist practitioners, I also teach the Diamond Sutra and the awareness, which is the same state as the great perfection. So, I need to talk about the oral pith instructions of the Diamond Sutra. How can I apply these in daily life to help those beginners to understand? Then, I must tell some Buddhist stories. But I cannot only tell Buddhist stories. As you know, they only read the Buddhist sutras and explain a little bit, and the story is told. I will not be like this when telling a story. When I tell stories, I will accommodate those who are beginners, but I want to take them into the ocean of the Dharma and teach them how to practice it. So, I also teach them how to work with the 5 wisdoms. The 5 wisdoms are what all intermediate and advanced people must understand. For beginners, intermediate and advanced learners, I can help them through these explanations. This is my painstaking efforts and the reason why I keep doing this. The story we are telling today is derived from the 13 of the Buddha eating horsewheat chapter, 2nd volume of the Sutra on the life of Shakyamuni. It states that at the time the Buddha, together with 1,250 monks, left Baholi and returned to Jetavana Vihara in Raja. There was a county passing through between Raja and Baholi called Vairanga. There was a Brahmin in Vairanga. What is a Brahmin? Brahmin was of Hinduism whose predecessor is Brahmanism. They had some caste system. In the caste system, the highest level was called priest, the highest level of nobility. So, they were called Brahmin. One was called Brahmin, meaning that they were of high level. They were priests and representatives of gods. It was like this. What is the name of this Brahmin? Agnidatta. He was very intelligent and also very rich. One day he went to Ananda Chi's house to discuss something. When he was done, he asked one of the people named Suda. He said, in this city now, or in this country nowadays, all carry similar meanings. Is there a human god who can be a master? Are there god-level figures who can be considered a great respected master? Is there such a person? Is there such a powerful person? In our place. Suda then replied, have you not heard? There is a prince named Gautama. He is of the Sakya clan. He became a monk to practice the Dharma. Now he has successfully cultivated and has a Buddha name. He has a good body and color, with a very solemn appearance. He is not seen by the world has never seen such a powerful person, such a solemn appearance, and his precepts and dharmas are elegant and correct. Reflecting and removing the dirt of the mind, once you learn all his teachings, you can immediately see where you have gone wrong, and you can reflect on all your wrongdoings. He can also help you use methods to eliminate them. His teachings are truly incredible. If you follow him to cultivate, you will become enlightened, and your mind, spirit, and everything will immediately seem to be very clear and sensible. He said, knowing the origin of sentient beings. He understands the roots and nature of all sentient beings, and all their bad things. He knows them well. He can teach those sentient beings the right medicine for the illness. So, all the heavenly and dragon gods are fighting to come to serve this person. Each of his teachings is essential and profound. They are deep and accurate, 100% covering the spirit and essence. He said, it's not what I, the firefly, can declare. It is not like those of us who are so bad, claiming the light of fireflies to be called light, or the light of lamps and candles to be called light. Those lights of his really shine brightly. In other words, we cannot even describe how incredible he is. So, Agnidatta heard that there was a Buddha who was so powerful, so extraordinary and so virtuous. Filled with 5 emotions. He became emotional immediately, and immediately asked, can the Buddha be seen? Where is he now? Then where is this Buddha? Can I see him? He asked agitatedly. This Suda answered him, very close. He is now at Jetavana, teaching a mantra that everyone can hear about the boundless Buddha Dharma, and teaching us some real words. On the next day, Agnidatta could not wait and went to Jetavana. As soon as he entered the door, he saw the Buddha and felt that he was elegant, bright and majestic. So, a kind of respect arose in his heart, which came out from his heart. He walked to pay homage to the Buddha and then sat aside. And the Buddha taught him some dharmas, and he was very pleased. When he was leaving, he said to the Buddha and his bhikkhu, the bhikkhu who listened to the Buddha's teachings together. He said, you are cordially invested, please come to my home. My county is not far from here. It's called Vairanga. I invite you to come to my home together. A period of 3 months, come to mine and stay for 3 months. Let me offer, take care of you. May I invite you to come, please? Buddha knows the causes and conditions of the past with divine will. This is really remarkable. You really need to pay attention to this sentence, because the development of the story is related to this sentence. Do not ignore this sentence. This sentence, as you know, was written after the Buddha's nirvana and by those disciples who recorded the facts. Of course, the notes were based on what they thought should be the case at that time. The Buddha, you should know that he was very powerful and had supernatural powers. He knew all the causes and conditions of many lives in the past, right? Of course he knew, and he accepted the invitation silently. Silently means without making a noise. This word was written and translated into silently, right? I guess the meaning is correct. Think about it. When someone requests to make an offering and says, "Please come to my house for dinner," for example, of course you say yes, and that person will say, "When?" "I'm going to invite you to stay for 3 months. I have to ask you when you will come. I also have to prepare a place." You are not inviting one person. How many people was he inviting now? He was inviting the Buddha and all his monks, a lot of people. If there are thousands of people, you have to prepare a place, food, and all the bedding. There are a lot of things to prepare, and you have to take care of things. When you make offerings to the Buddha, of course you must offer some good things. There is no reason for you to give some rotten huts and woodsheds to live in. You must prepare for them. So normally, the sutra should have stated that the Buddha says, "Okay. I will come. Would you discuss the date with my attendants and how to arrange it?" This should usually be the case. Venerable Ananda may act as a close attendant, and of course he would discuss with Agnidatta, when we will come, stay for 3 months, and how many people will be. It should have been said like this. But I can tell you that this sutra does not say anything. There are only 4 words. Accept the invitation silently. Silently means making no sound. The Buddha did not say yes or no. So, this silence is the focus of this case. As the story continues, who will bear the blame? Who is at fault? Because this silence means that you have not said yes or no, but you have been invited. How do you express it? After all, the Buddha only nodded his head and did not say anything, which means okay. I will come. Or, did he shake his head and say, "No, I won't come"? Nothing is written here, only 4 words. You think about it based on these 4 words. What happened next? Whose fault was it? Accepted the invitation silently means that I've accepted your invitation. Let's carry on. There is nothing but 4 words for this case. You can freely use your imagination. This Agnidatta must be approved by the Buddha. Actually, this Agnidatta was incredible. Without the Buddha saying a word, he felt that he had already agreed. He then immediately said, "Okay, I'll go back immediately." He took his leave and returned to his own country. When Agnidatta returned home, he immediately prepared all the offerings very carefully. Wow! There were rare treasures in the world. There would never be such amazing and beautiful food and all the facilities in this world. The house was also very beautiful, all been redecorated in preparation for the Buddha's arrival. On the day of departure, the time was unknown. That day means a certain day, right? The world-honored one is the Buddha. He went to Vairanga with 500 monks as promised. Because I accepted. So, he brought 500 monks. 500 means several hundreds. In ancient times, 500 does not mean exactly 500 people. It means several hundred people. That is, it required many houses, food, bedding, etc., not to mention a large number of utensils for washing face and brushing teeth, right? However, Agnidatta was then deluded by the demons. There was a demon who bewitched him. This is incredible, written by those disciples. This paragraph of the sutra states that Agnidatta was deluded by the demons. It was not the words of the Buddha himself. Did the Buddha say that he was bewitched by the demon? There is nothing like this in the sutra. It is not said that the Buddha said, "Agnidatta, I forgive you. You're deluded by a demon." It was not like this. It was the disciples who thought it like this, so they wrote it down. Bewitched by the devil. Do not forget what religion this Agnadatta followed. He originally believed in foreign religions. He had never been exposed to Buddhism. It was the first time he saw the Buddha that day, so he invited the Buddha wishing to make offerings. He only listened to the sutra and the Buddhist teachings once. That was all. He was still practicing foreign religions. Is this devil explaining his confusion about his own religion and beliefs? This is not stated in detail. It is only covered in 4 words. You must understand whether there was really a demon descending from the sky and casting spells to make him confused, or it was because he was practicing another religion. When he went home, he used the treasures of the world, built new houses, he rented them, or may have requisitioned many houses in the country to prepare for the arrival of these hundreds of distinguished guests. What was it about? All the exaggerations and so many things, needless to guess, all those who practiced Brahmanism or foreign religions, even your teachers, that is, all the teachers and elders who taught Brahmanism, would come to you and say, "Have you made a mistake? Why do you spend so much money to meet someone who does not practice our religion? Was his faith shaken or what?" You yourself have to figure out the bewitching by a demon. I have given you some clues, so you can think about it yourself. After being bewitched, he became miserable. He wasted his whole person on the 5 kinds of desires, that is, how to dress up, indulging in women, listening to music, and indulging in all worldly things, food, clothing, glory, lust, etc. That is, color, sound, smell, taste, touch, these 5 kinds of desires. He was indulging himself in these. That was not all. He retired to the back hall. That is, he returned to the inner court of his home. He had already told all his personnel and all his subordinates, no visitors are allowed. Now I'm giving an order. No one is allowed to enter my house. No one is allowed to be my guest. Nothing is allowed. A time of 3 months, for a period of 3 months, no one is allowed to enter my place as a guest. A few words were also added. These words were regardless of superiority and inferiority. I do not care about how high his status is. Even if the Buddha comes, no matter who he is not allowed to enter my door even half a step, and he is not allowed to come in as a guest. There is no need to tell me. In short, I am telling you that it is not possible and is not allowed. Must obey my instructions, I tell you that you must listen to my instructions. If you are brave enough not to listen to my instructions, you will know how serious it is. That is what it meant. As a result, the Buddha and his 500 disciples went to the door. The door was closed. The door was shut and they were ignored. In short, the door would not be opened and they were ignored. It was bad. You should know that if the Buddha was in Sravasti, he had a place to live. If he did not go far, he could have gone home immediately, and there would be no need to worry about being miserable without food and shelter. But now he was in misery, coming from a long way from another country. How could he take everyone away at that moment? Moreover, he promised to come for 3 months, not just 3 days. I could not stay for 3 days and then leave, or leave right away. I must keep my word. Not keep my word, but accept the promise silently. This is really remarkable, because he never said that he would come that day, or I'll definitely come and stay for 3 months. He did not say this. He just remained silent. Being silent means accepting without making a sound. But how did this acceptance show that it was accepted? I really do not know. When interpreting the sutra, I cannot add a few more words. I can only tell you about various scenarios. So, how should we think about this? Of course, our thinking is not to find out the way he used to express his acceptance of the invitation. We mainly want you to pay attention to the crucial point, that is, your awareness and the Dharma, right? But I must explain it to you so that you can understand where the cause and effect occurred. So, the Buddha and his hundreds of disciples were in dire straits. They had no place to live and nothing to eat. They stayed in the big tree near Agnadatta's big house. Under the big tree in the forest, these hundreds of people took shelter there. This was where they looked for leaves to cover themselves from the sun and rain. But what about food? The Buddha then said to the monks, "It seems to me that there has been a famine in this county. Look at everyone who seems to have nothing to eat. Everyone ignores us when we ask. All the doors are closed. People are not keen along the way. They don't seem to welcome us, don't want to treat us as guests, and we can't find a hotel to stay. It seems that there has been a famine. It's better this way. It's not an option for us to get together. All of you disciples go to beg for alms individually. That is, go find food separately and protect yourself. You must help yourselves now. You must go find food by yourself." So, he sent them away to find food. After Shariputra listened to this order and accepted it, he was alone. He was the only one among so many people. Maybe his supernatural powers were superior. In short, he had this ability. He ascended to the heaven of Trayastrimsa where there was heavenly food. As you know, the food in heaven is the best and most delicious. He had food and shelter there. He never needed to worry about suffering under the big tree, being exposed to the sun and rain, and he did not have to worry about running out of food. Only he among so many disciples. Even the Buddha did not ascend to the Trayastrimsa heaven. Everyone was suffering here. Only him who did not have to suffer. How good it was for him to rise to heaven and enjoy the food easily. But the rest of the people went their ways and returned empty. It was miserable. All the hundreds of other people walked for 3 days and 3 nights to beg for alms, but none of them could bring any food back. They were really weak and hungry. Their legs were tired from walking. In short, they only had water to drink. No need to ask, the Buddha was the same. Fortunately, they searched everywhere at that time and finally found a horse trainer. The horse trainer said, "I have some grains for horses, called the horse wheat." These wheat were coarse and difficult to eat. They were hard. Some were dark and slippery. Some could be very hard. In short, they were very messy and rubbish. "I've some food for the horses. I'll give you a small amount. You can share it and eat it. I only have so much." Then Venerable Ananda, who was one of the 10 disciples of Buddha Shakyamuni, came to serve him. He took the alms bowl to contain the horse wheat, feeling very sad. He became very sad. He said, "You should know all the heavens. All heavens mean so many heavens, many levels of heavens. There are many kings among them, even in our country. They always look for the best when they make offerings to the Buddha, most delicious food. It's not worthy of your mouth. It's so delicious that is full of praise. I cannot describe how good it is. Only the Buddha and the world-honored one would eat something like this. Now receive this wheat. To our surprise you are given such horse wheat, something that only horses can eat. Look at it, it looks ugly, disgusting, and hard. How can I have the heart to give such a thing to the Buddha? No, I must think of a way. These wheat are poured down and fed to the horses. They are not cooked. No way. I must find someone. As you know, they came as guests. They would not have brought cooking utensils. Usually when they crossed the state borders, the things they prepared for the journey were only limited items. There would not be so many various tools for cooking. He thought, this won't work. They usually carried dry food on the road. For example, when traveling from Shravasti to another place, they would not bring cooking utensils, because they only needed as much dry food as they estimated how many days the journey would take. He thought, these horse wheat are hard and ugly. It would be better to try washing them with water and then boiling them until they are softer before giving them to Buddha Shakyamuni. It would be better than chewing them hard. Why don't I find someone to cook them? So, he took the wheat, and paid a visit to an old woman, that is, he went to find an old woman. He found the old woman and said to her, Buddha is the Supreme One. Do you know what Buddha is? In this world, he is the first venerable, the most noble person. Do you know, his Dharma, I tell you, is the most superior and most noble, and his teachings are excellent. Now I'd like to cook some rice. I'd like to cook these horse wheat like rice for the Buddha to eat. I want you to help me cook it. The merit is immeasurable. Please help me. What a pity. Unexpectedly, the old woman said, I'm very busy. I have urgent matters today. I have a lot of things to do. I cannot do it. I can't help you. I can't do it. It was miserable and it was so difficult. Fortunately, there was another old woman nearby when she heard that this Buddha was so good. When she heard Venerable Ananda exclaiming how good he was, she immediately came out and said, Give it to me. You give it to me. You give me these horse wheat, and let me cook them. Venerable Ananda gave them to her and she cooked them. While the Buddha was eating, he recited mantras, prayed, and made wishes. He also knew that Ananda had a knot in his heart. When he saw his sad face, he knew how sad he was. The horse wheat was still difficult to eat after cooked. Because of this, he was very sad watching the Buddha to eat them. So, the Buddha wanted to ease his worries. He used his supernatural powers to make them feel delicious, while eating the horse wheat as if there were 100 kinds of flavors. There were obviously only horse wheat, but it seemed that there were many dishes accompanying it as if there were hundreds of flavors that tasted as good as each other. The first bite could be of this flavor, the second bite that flavor. Sometimes it tasted like mango, and sometimes it tasted like lychee. There were hundreds of tastes. Every bite tasted differently, very delicious. None in this world. There is nothing in this world that tastes so good. Ananda began to figure it out and said, Tathagata, which means Buddha. You are so incredible. Your virtues are so wonderful. It is unimaginable and inconceivable. The world-honored one then wished to go to the country of Virgi. It had been 3 months. After 3 months, he felt that it was time to set off to go to Virgi. So, he said to Ananda, Go and tell Agnidatta that we're leaving. Ananda replied, Okay, let me go and tell him. Agnidatta opened the door after 3 months, as he ordered his subordinates to open the door after 3 months. Once the door was opened, Ananda could go in. Ananda saw Agnidatta. However, Agnidatta was not yet awake. It means that he still did not know what had happened to him, and he asked Ananda, Why are you here now? Ananda replied that the Buddha was also there. Because Agnidatta asked, Where is the Buddha and why are you here? Where is the Buddha? Venerable Ananda said, The Buddha is also here. He has been here for 3 months, because of your invitation. As you know, the Honorable did not say another word. Ananda said that the Buddha, the world-honored one, never said anything else. That is, the Buddha, the world-honored one, promised you. He did not say anything else. He did not say that he would not come. You know that the moment is over. The 3 months I promised you are completed. It is time to go. I am here to say goodbye now. We are leaving. Agnidatta heard that the Buddha had come, but he did not make offerings to him. Everyone had to sleep on the streets, under the trees, with nothing to eat but horse wheat. Sorrow and horror, very sad, so sad, and he felt terrible. This is awful. I'm in big trouble. What should I do now? He immediately rushed to the Buddha, bowed with his head and face bowed to the Buddha, and confessed, I'm so foolish. I've sinned. Why have I committed these sins? Breach of promise, I didn't do what I promised. May the Buddha be merciful. Please be merciful to me, Buddha, and forgive me for this serious crime. The Buddha said to the Brahmin. What is a Brahmin? Brahmin is a free translation, and the transliteration is Brahmin. It means to say to the Brahmin. As you know, a Brahmin sometimes practiced a foreign religion. But sometimes the word Brahmin is not interpreted as Brahmanism, but as a religious practitioner. That is, sometimes it is interpreted as us Buddhist practitioners. There are a few Buddhist sutras that mention it. Let's leave it like that. In short, the Buddha thought, you have listened to one of my Buddhist teachings after all. You are considered to have practiced the Dharma. You have invited the Buddha in order to make offerings, and invited all the monks to come and have a meal with. They were all called Brahmin, no matter whether they practiced Buddhism or another religion. In short, he said to him, I know your sincerity. I know very clearly what happened. I understand what you mean. It's okay, it's okay. Agnadatta was very pleased and said to the Buddha, "Can you stay for 7 more days? Let me make the offerings that I should have made. As you know, I haven't done it. Can you give me 7 more days?" The Buddha thought, the new year is about to come. If I am still rushing to other country during the new year, then it's not good to my disciples who follow me and have been hungry for a long time. It would be bad if they continue to do this during the new year. Since they are willing to keep us for 7 more days and make offerings to us, it would be great to give them some food and clothing. Then, I will stay for 7 more days. So, he agreed. Please pay attention. Are there accepted the invitation silently, the 4 words here this time? No, it is to have been known, which means that he may have used words directly, nodded and said, "Okay. I will stay for 7 more days." That's it. There was no misunderstanding here. If it was accepted silently, you might say whether to come or not to come. I've got everything ready, and if you don't come it'd all be wasted. If you don't come, that's it. Shariputra at the time, Shariputra then descended from the sky. When he came back, he celebrated the new year with everyone. He stayed here for 7 more days to celebrate the new year, and then went to the country of Virgi. When Agnadatta saw them off, he took out all the offerings and food and scattered them all over the ground along the way. He said, "You have them all along the way. I will scatter them for you now. You don't have to work so hard to get them. I will send someone to put everything on the ground along the way. You will have it along the way. If you pick it up on the road, you will have something to eat, or something to use." All was scattered on the ground. The Buddha said to Agnadatta, "Rice utensils and rice grains. Do you know that these rice and rice grains are for eating, not for placing on the floor? How can we put them on the floor and step on? That's not possible. Okay, I accept your offerings. Not to worry. No need to worry that we won't take them. We will. We will." The Buddha asked all his disciples to hold it, and accept his offerings. Moreover, he made mantras and vows for them. He also recited mantras and said prayers for all his offerings, which was a formal acceptance. The meaning of making a mantra wish is to make a formal permission. It turns out that a formal permission is like this. So Agnadatta was very pleased and at ease. The Buddha did not bear any grudge or displeasure at all about the precepts I violated and mistakes I made, and accepted them completely. So, he immediately obtained the pure Dharma eyes and figured out everything at once. The Buddha is really so virtuous. He let bygones be bygones. He did not pursue all the bad things I did. He was so thoughtful and said that it was not good to put things on the floor. He also recited mantras and said prayers for all the offerings as formal acceptance. He also blessed me, which is really wonderful. So, he gained the Dharma eye, which we have explained before. That is, he finally understood what the Dharma is. We will not explain it in detail anymore. Even people in the entire country, young and old, decided that they should believe in Buddhism. It turned out that they were so virtuous. They bowed before the Buddha's feet. Everyone came to bow to the Buddha's feet, and retreat happily. They were very happy to go home. At that time, Ananda served the Buddha's majesty. It means that Venerable Ananda had not yet cultivated to have supernatural powers. Serving the Buddha's majesty means that because he served the Buddha, he had some understanding of things. So, he knew that all those hundreds of monks had a big question in their minds. That is, they could not understand why the Buddha and we, who are so noble, have to sleep on the street for 3 months and eat horse wheat for 3 months. What is the reason for doing this? No matter what, the Buddha would stay for 3 full months and suffer under the trees. No matter what, he would not take us to go somewhere else. So, he said to the Buddha at a suitable time. Many people had great doubts in their minds. Some people even thought, "Buddha, you say you have supernatural powers. You should have known that if you came here you had to eat horse wheat and sleep on the streets. Why did you come? Don't you have supernatural powers?" Some disciples would think this way, which was even more disrespectful. Of course, Venerable Ananda did not want these practicing disciples to be like this. Of course, he wanted them to understand the truth. So, he found a suitable moment and asked the Buddha. As you know, the Buddha had supernatural powers. He was aware of and was able to reflect on all the three paths. He was very clear about the three realms. He would definitely know what sentient beings were thinking and why all the causes and conditions were like this. So, he would know why they had to eat horse wheat for 3 months. The time refers to the 3 months he promised. Here, the time means 3 months. Why did they have to eat horse wheat for 3 months? Finally, the answers were revealed for their questions. The Buddha said to them, a long time ago, there was a big country called Panchuyu. There was a king named Pinchu. And there was a prince named Vipassion, who became a monk and studied Buddhism, and he became a Buddha. After becoming a Buddha, he continued to use his name as Buddha Vipassion. Good appearance, dignified and virtuous. All the dharmas could integrated and explained completely and smoothly. So, there were as many as 62,000 monks who followed him. At the time, his father gave alms providing food to the Buddha, and all the monks, or bhikkhus, who followed him, provided alms as well as decorating the houses they lived. All the places they visited and the Buddhist halls where they taught the Dharma were all decorated with beautiful things. Even the whole country was decorated with colorful lanterns to celebrate the prince's becoming a Buddha. Rare treasures of the world. All the best things were taken out, and the whole city was tidied up and decorated. It was bright and beautiful. There was a Brahmin at that time, assumably practicing a foreign religion. This Brahmin was not a Buddhist. At the time, there was a Brahmin, a practitioner of another religion. He was pure and virtuous. It is not clear here whether he practiced Buddhism or not. It could well be that he was a Dharma practitioner. His virtue was very pure and high. He had many disciples following him. He entered the city for some matter then. He asked people there, what festival is today? It's so beautiful, so beautiful. The passenger said, it is Prince Vipassion. He's become a Buddha, and has a Buddha name. He'll come today. The king and all his subjects will also come. He will come to accept our offerings. So, we have to decorate it beautifully. This Taoist priest, using the word, Taoist priest, means that the translators believed that he was of another religion rather than a Buddhist. This Brahmin, that is, this Taoist priest said, people of the world are really superstitious. Yes, such a good delicacy is thrown away and wasted, just like the person you are talking about should eat horse wheat. Why should he eat such a good thing? The 500 disciples who followed him also said, yes, yes, he should eat horse wheat. Why should he eat such a good thing? One of them remonstrated. It turned out that among his 500 disciples, there were also some knowledgeable people. One of them remonstrated, saying, teacher's words are wrong. He was brave enough to tell the teacher that what he said was not good and not right. If it is true as the passerby said, if this person is really virtuous and his virtue is so noble, he should eat food by the heavenly kitchen. He should be eating delicious food from heaven. The Buddha said to all the monks, do you know who this Brahmin, this person who practiced another religion was? He was a reincarnation of my previous lives. 500 disciples, who are the 500 disciples who followed this Brahmin? It is you the 500 monks who follow me now. Who was the person who remonstrated the Guru at the time? Who was the one who advised his teacher? It is Shariputra. That is why Shariputra did not need to eat horse wheat. When it was time for retributions, he could go up to Traistrimsa heaven to eat. No one could go up there, even the Buddha. All had to stay down here to eat horse wheat. I planted this seed. This cause was planted by me with my own hands. It has only ended now. It should be ended now. He said to the monks, you should each protect your mind and mouth. Your mind is your thoughts and your mouth is your words. Please guard your mind and your mouth. Do not talk nonsense or think carelessly. Be careful not to be arrogant, means that you have to be very careful, very cautious, and not to be so arrogant and talk nonsense. The Buddha also said, good and evil follow people. All our good karma and evil karma will follow us, for a long time unable to leave. And will not leave no matter how long it takes. It is advisable to practice illuminating conduct. You must practice those with real light. Light is awareness, and light represents the awareness. However, this translator did not know how to translate the awareness, or they did not have the ability to translate it at the time. So, he states illuminating conduct, very bright actions which are actions with the awareness. You must be aware of what you do. No, you cannot do it carelessly. If they knew how to explain the awareness at the time, then those who teach the Dharma now would not have to turn in all the wrong directions. You only need to focus on the light, but without the awareness, you will become confused. So, you must remember that translation is very important. If you mistranslate a word and people in later generations follow suit and translate it the same way, the true meaning of Buddhism will not come to light. Through it can one accomplish. If you can follow this and practice it with real actions of the awareness, you will achieve success. He said that now, what I have repaid, the retribution I have had now, is over. It has been fully repaid. All monks, listen. All the monks were very pleased. Everyone said that they would practice it. Now let me talk about another case. It turns out that the reason Buddha Shakyamuni mentioned eating horse wheat for 90 days is not only the reason for the verbal karma committed in this life, telling others to eat horse wheat. Where is it cited? This is the 9th volume of the Sutra of the Cause and Condition of Eating Horse Wheat said by the Buddha, and this case comes from the Sutra on Rising and Walking by the Buddha, which is also called the 9th volume of the Yangcheng Sutra of Past Conditions. It turns out there is paragraph to follow, which is like this. You must listen clearly and carefully. Heard as such, Venerable Ananda heard it with his own ears that day and recorded it. At the time, the Buddha was at Anavatapta with 500 monks, all of whom had become arhats and had supernatural powers. All were gathered together. The Buddha said to Shariputra, do you know that a long time ago, there was a Buddha named Vipassana Tathagata? It is different from Buddha Vipassayan. It is another Buddha. What follows are the 10 names of the Buddha. I have always led you to read them, so there is no need to explain it, right? At the time in the city of Panchu Mobba, this Buddha and his monks gathered together. How many people were following him? This is incredible, even more incredible than Buddha Vipassayan. There were as many as 168,000 people. The king at the time was called Panchu. Together with his ministers, common people, and all the maids, they made offerings to this Buddha and all the monks with the 4 things. There was absolutely nothing lacking. What are the 4 things? Clothes, food, bedding, and medicine, or clothing, food, decoctions, and houses. That is, they were provided with complete food, shelter, medical care, clothing and supplies etc. There was another Brahmin in the city then. I have explained the meaning of Brahmin. His name this time was called Yintikili. His name is Yintikili. He was incredible. He was said to be erudite and familiar with classic literature. He had read all the literature works about the religion he believed in and understood them all. He was also very proficient in all the techniques needed to practice, and he understood all the moral conduct. 500 boys were taught by him, and he was considered very prestigious. At the time, the king held a gathering of alms to invite the Buddha. So, the Buddha accepted the invitation silently. It is accepting the invitation silently, again. It turns out that these Buddhas, if you want to invite them or make offerings to them, they will not say yes or no. Being silent is tantamount to acceptance. It turns out that being silent means accepting. I do not know if these are called body language. I do not know. Nevertheless, this king invited and the Buddha agreed. He immediately went back to prepare all kinds of abundant and beautiful things and set up the beds. All the furniture and all the incense burners were ready. Then, he knelt down on the seat and said, I'm ready. Would you please come? It turns out that this king, with his dignity as a king, had prepared everything. He was not just sitting there. Since the Buddha agreed, he was just waiting for him to come. That was not the case. After he was ready, he was holding the incense burner, knelt beside the Buddha, and said, "I'm ready. Please start your journey now." So, there was no misunderstanding here, right? The silence this time, there was no misunderstanding about the silence. Buddha Vipassana Buddha felt that it was the right time, so he took everyone with him. You should know, how many people were they? 160,000, there were that many. He took all the followers, put on robes and held alms bowls. They went to answer the king's invitation, and went to be seated in the palace. The king immediately ordered people to place all the food and drinks, many good things on the table. At the time, there was a bhikkhu named Maitreya. He was unwell and did not go with him. After the Buddha and all the people had finished eating, they thought about this Maitreya when they were leaving. He should have had this offering despite being ill. So, they asked the king for this Maitreya Buddha, he hasn't come because he's ill. Can you bring us a portion and take it back to him to eat? Of course, the king agreed. It was not just the amount for one person, but plenty. So many people would carry the food back. When they were carrying this food, possibly somewhere very close to where they lived, the food was still hot and fragrant. And there were all kinds of beautiful things, which could be seen while they carried them. They passed Mount Brahmin, the mountain where the Brahmin lived. When this Brahmin saw so many good things and so much delicious food, he felt very jealous, and then he said, "Who is this Brahmin? It's Yantikali, right?" He said, "Such a bald Sramana, that is, this bald Dharma practitioner. The bald Dharma practitioner should eat horse wheat. He should not eat such a good thing. He should eat the horse wheat. He should not eat this sweet, such a good thing, such a good offering." He spoke to his boys, to the 500 boys who followed him. He said, "Have you seen it? Such a bald man. Have you seen such a bald Dharma practitioner? They eat such good things. So, shouldn't they be able to eat such good things, should they?" When these boys saw it, they replied, "Yes, yes, we have also seen these teachers, the master of a teacher." They referred to these people. They did not call them bald heads, but masters of teachers. They should eat horse wheat. So, they agreed. The Buddha said to Shariputra. So, Buddha Shakyamuni then said to Shariputra, "Do you know that the Brahmin who was in this mountain at the time, this Brahmin, was one of my reincarnations of previous lives? And the 500 boys, then were you the 500 arhats now? Maitreya, who was ill at that time, is the current Bodhisattva Maitreya." The Buddha told Shariputra, "Because I had a jealous thought then, so I said a few things. I said that they shouldn't eat such good food but horse wheat. Because I said this, you guys at the time followed me and said the same. It was because of this cause and condition that all 500 of you, and I had to go through hell for countless thousands of years. We had to stay in hell for thousands of years. The countless sufferings of hell were calculated in thousands of years. It was really miserable. All for saying a few words wrong. It was done in words and thoughts. But the body did not commit any wrongdoing. He did not immediately go to the Buddha and ask why he got to eat these things. He did not go over and say this. He only said this to his own people, and he had to suffer in hell for such a long time. Why is this case so different from the previous one? It was only this sentence he said in the previous case, plus the bald Dharma practitioners. One resulted in eating horse wheat for 90 days. But now not only did they have to eat horse wheat, but they also had to go to hell. Although I have become a Buddha now, even though I Buddha Shakyamuni have become a Buddha, the remaining conditions at the time. That is, even after I have suffered the hells, there still existed residual conditions. As a result, you and I all had to be in this Pilan together. Pilan is Vairanga. Different translators have different transliterations. In fact, it means that he had to eat horse wheat for 90 days in Vairanga. Pilan refers to this place. We got the remaining cause and condition of eating horse wheat for 90 days. Buddha Shakyamuni said, "I didn't tell the Buddha directly then to go and eat horse wheat. I only told you monks, that is, the boys at the time. Just like this, I already had to eat horse wheat. Why? Because you also chipped in, you all had to eat horse wheat, too. So, you all needed to eat horse wheat today. It's because you chipped in. The Buddha said to Shariputra, as you see, I am a Buddha. I've become a Buddha. All my evil deeds have been removed. As a Buddha, I do all the good deeds. I've helped save all sentient beings, kings and their subjects, gods and dragons. But in this case, I cannot use these good causes to avoid this residual condition, the residual disaster from past lives. I have explained residual disasters before. These residual disasters of past lives are still so violent. Let alone you who are foolish, yet to attain enlightenment, accomplishment, and Buddhahood. You must pay attention to this residual disaster, which can be so powerful. The Buddha said to Shariputra, therefore, you must guard the three kinds of cause and condition. What are the three kinds of cause and condition? That is, do not commit any offenses with body, speech, or mind, and do not commit bad karma. He said, Shariputra, you should do this. After the Buddha finished speaking, Shariputra, the 500 arhats, the dragon king Anavatapta, and the 8 divisions of ghosts and gods happily accepted and were pleased to practice what the Buddha said. They all joyfully said that they would definitely guard their body, speech, and mind. Let's compare now. If I do not compare these two cases, you would not be able to understand those questions I raised at the start. According to the second volume of the Sutra on the life of Shakyamuni, the Buddha had his retribution, and ended the evil cause after he had become a Buddha and eaten the horse wheat. He then said in the sutra, I've ended it now. All the evil conditions are ended. As for the retribution of the case in sutra on rising and walking by the Buddha, he had to go through hell for countless thousands of years, and then there was still some residual cause and condition. After becoming a Buddha, he ate horse wheat for 90 days to end this residual evil cause. Take a look carefully. In the sutra on the life of Shakyamuni, eating horse wheat is considered the primary retribution. I have said that you should eat horse wheat after all. Just saying one sentence, I had to eat horse wheat for 90 days, but now what is the primary retribution in the sutra on rising and walking by the Buddha? It is to fall into hell and suffer for countless thousands of years. This is the primary retribution, while eating horse wheat is a residual condition. Is there a mistake? Why is it so different? Let's compare why there is such a big difference. In the sutra on the life of Shakyamuni, what did he commit at the time? He was disdainful in his thought, despising a holy Buddha in their thoughts and considering attaining Buddhahood to be nothing extraordinary. This is similar in the sutra on rising and walking by the Buddha. There is no difference. It is all about despising a holy Buddha in their thoughts. But when someone says bad things, that is, you go eat horse wheat, do you know that often people like to scold others and tell them to eat shit? It is the same as people asked others to eat horse wheat before. Modern people like to talk like this very much. So, remember, do not talk carelessly. You will eat whatever you tell people to eat, and you will have to eat it for 90 days to be retributed. Every minute, you have to eat it fully for 90 days as a primary retribution. Even as a residual disaster, you must eat it fully for 90 days, too. So miserable. So, do not talk nonsense. It is different in the sutra on rising and walking by the Buddha. He said one more sentence. Apart from saying that you should eat horse wheat, he also said, you bald Dharma practitioner. What is the rationale for this? According to the reasoning in the sutra on the life of Shakyamuni, it was due to people in the world being superstitious. Why should he eat these good things? Because they were superstitious, they gave these good things to him to eat. This was the reason. It involved 2 lifetimes, however, according to the sutra on rising and walking by the Buddha. Both were the previous reincarnation of Buddha Shakyamuni, but similar things happened in the 2 lives respectively. What happened in that life, stated in the sutra on raising and walking by the Buddha, no reason was given when he talked about that particular lifetime. No reasoning means that the mind was not connected to develop something. This is called no reasoning. Were there any good conditions to help him? In the sutra on the life of Shakyamuni, there was an admonisher. One of his disciples advised him. But in this sutra on rising and walking by the Buddha, there was no one to advise him. What is the benefit of being advised by somebody? You may have developed a little awareness. Yes, why is this disciple advising me like this? Does it mean that I've made a mistake? If I've made a mistake, I will repent. But this sutra does not mention whether he repented for this. You can tell that if someone did remonstrate, he might have repented. You can only understand it this way. Because in the sutra, the Buddha did not personally say that he had repented at the time. If there was no repentance, then there was none. Do you understand that? But I am telling you the benefits of ancillary conditions. Were there any evil conditions? Were there any evil ancillary conditions? It was these 500 followers who echoed him. Do you know that these are called flag waving and cheering? It is like movie fans or boxing fans who are cheering. Remember, if you watch TV and see someone beating someone or fighting, you must not say next to the TV, "I'm not even there. I'm not a bystander. I'm only watching TV." Then you say, "Well done. Good fight." Do you know that you have already entered the circle of pulling force, the circle of karma? You have already entered it by only saying a sentence. Do not think that you are so far away, or in another country blocked by a TV. You will get in no matter how far away you are. So, remember not to echo. Some people agreed with him at the time, and similarly in the Sutra on Rising and Walking by the Buddha, there were also 500 people. I got this group of bystanders into trouble. It was this same 500 people. In fact, when you talk about these two cases, they are only slightly different. But the slight difference results in one case only eating for 90 days, and the other having to fall into hell. The eating horse wheat for 90 days should be carried out at the same time. It should be same eating horse wheat for 90 days. Different things were done in 2 lifetimes, with the same punishment executed in the same period. This punishment was executed. Let's see. What is the main difference? Mind. You see, in this case, he was pitying the world's superstitious and ignorant people. He felt that these people were superstitious, so they gave him such good food. He also said that he had become a Buddha, and thus deceived these people. He had some compassion at the time. But what was the nature of mind in the Sutra on Rising and Walking by the Buddha? It was jealousy and hatred. Among body, speech and mind in both cases, only speech and mind were committed, but not body. The key point is in the mind. You will find that retribution and cause and effect in fact, the key point is not whether your words and thoughts are the same thing. If you say one sentence like this, you will go to hell. Must you fall into hell by simply saying one sentence like this? The fact is that it is in the mind, cause and condition are in the mind. Okay, you may say that according to the Bodhisattva precepts, there is no violation for those who have compassion, mercy and kindness. I do not care whether this Brahmin practiced Buddhism, or had taken the Bodhisattva precepts. Whether he had taken or not, the law of cause and effect operating in nature was the same. He was full of compassion and kindness. He only pitied these ignorant people in the world, because he thought this person was a liar and a deceiver. He was kind and merciful, so he did not violate the precept. In fact, he did not violate any serious precepts, which led him to only eat horse wheat for 90 days, which is considered as primary retribution. In other words, he had not taken this precept, but was full of compassion and kindness, which could lessen his retribution. Against what was said on that day, he had corresponding retribution actually. It cannot be said that he was full of compassion and kindness, so he had not violated the precept, and did not have to suffer retribution. It would not be like this, because he really said some evil words, which caused 500s of people to say the same. So, he would still have his retribution, albeit not a one-to-one retribution. You may say, doesn't the real retribution mean that if I slap someone, he will slap me back? Shouldn't I be scolded back 90 times if I say a bad word? Why 1 against 90? Shouldn't he only scold me back? Why do I have to eat horse wheat? It's the thing I want to do, the thing I curse. It's the thing I intend to do. When I scold something like that, it is not that someone scolds me back the same kind of thing, but the thing I curse, such as you go die. And I am really going to die. It is not that I will only die once if I curse, but I will die 90 times. That is what it will turn out to be. Yes, the operation of the law of cause and effect and the rules of retribution turn out to be so terrifying. These are called cause and effect. You will ask, are these considered corresponding retributions? I am a little unconvinced. Why is it not 1-to-1, but 1-to-90? And it is not only receiving the bad words in return, but actually receiving what the bad words say in return. This is indeed the retribution, and this is called cause and effect. I have explained it before. I will not explain it in detail again. As I said before, this is because there are many replications out there, and they are being copied all the time. I will not explain it. But you can see that the case of going to hell in the Sutra on the Rising and Walking by the Buddha is because that person's mind was full of jealous and hateful thoughts. If you compare these two tables, everything is similar, except for the huge difference in character. One has compassion, while the other has jealousy and hatred. It is because of his personality that he puts it into his actions. Once the two ferment and have an effect, the consequences he received afterward are completely different, and they are as different as heaven and earth. If bystanders were of the same mind as him, they would all be implicated and go to hell. The retribution suffered by bystanders will not be lighter than that of the mastermind. Bystanders who only say a word will go to hell. I have explained this in the previous episodes. It is because the pulling force of hell is very strong, and it keeps sucking in the same type of things. Therefore, it is impossible for you to resist the attraction of such a large pulling force. As a result, they will all end up in hell. How long will they be left in hell? Countless thousands of years. Do you think it is miserable or not? It is all due to the different nature of the mind. Look at the first case. Because of his different mind, Shariputra, although he was in this group of people and watched this incident, he did not need to suffer retribution, and did not need to go to hell. Since he was not in the case stated in the Sutra on the Rising and Walking of the Buddha, of course it has nothing to do with him, but in the life stated in Sutra on the life of Shakyamuni, he was one of the 500. He was admonishing at the time, and had a different mind. He could go to the heaven to enjoy the heavenly food. So, if you can understand how cause and effect operates, you will be surprised by the way it works. It turns out that cause and effect is very scary. Let's take a closer look. What is the purpose of telling these two cases now? This is not to tell you a story, but to tell you how important the remembrance is. What is the remembrance in our Dharma practice? It means the thoughts plus the mind. When you come up with an idea, and this idea will become a remembrance with your mind. This remembrance is like a root stuck in your consciousness. It will lead you upward or downward. It is triggered by this remembrance. So, if you have the awareness accumulated from life to life, higher and higher, and you improve it more and more, you will definitely be able to become a Buddha, or escape from reincarnation. But if such a remembrance of yours is poor, for example, because of one simple sentence, you become very jealous of those people. You despise those people who claim to be great and call themselves gurus, or Vajra masters. They claim themselves to a Buddha or something else. I despise these people. Let me tell you. I get angry when someone calls himself a guru. I will tell them to eat horse wheat. It turns out that it is 1-to-1. Do you know that your thoughts will carry your body and speech with you? The current case is not so serious that he will lead his body to actions. As soon as I hear someone calling himself a guru, I would fly over to the guru and scold him. He has not gone. He is only talking. I've only casually said what's so great about it. At most, I only say what's so great about you. Are you really that good? Your retribution would be that in the next life you will be a little stupid at most. But now you are calling people to eat horse wheat. This will be a big deal for you. You will have to eat horse wheat for many days. It turns out that it is 1-to-1. Malicious thoughts will be connected with evil words. This is called the root of thoughts, the root of thoughts. So, I often teach you to cultivate the 5 wisdoms. You cannot escape if you do not cultivate the 5 wisdoms. Don't tell me that you can just practice a ritual and visualize a deity. The most important thing is to cultivate your mind and find the root of thoughts. That is why I often say that you need to mobilize the 5 wisdoms, and use the mind cultivating procedure to find the root. One of my disciples said, "I'm very busy. You often ask me to find the root. How do I know how to find it? Do I have time to find it? I know it all. There's no need to look for it. I can't change it because I'm so busy." Her reply was like this. So, I immediately gave a long lecture for 2 hours and instructed her in a Upavasata event, do not ignore it. If you are like this, despising a guru, a certain guru or some Buddhas in your mind, and when you see one, you would say, "How great are you?" Just like that, you are already going to hell every minute. If you do not fall into hell, you will have a retribution many times more. Never do it. This route of thoughts carries you downward from life to life. Why? Can you not see that this has involved 2 lifetimes? In the first life, he still had compassion. They are just superstitious and ignorant. As he did not change it and refused to find the root of thoughts and eradicate it, this root of thoughts was extended to the next life and even worse. It got worse and worse all the way down and became jealousy. I'm really jealous that he has so many good things. What's so great about him that he has so many good rewards? Only like this, he had to fall into hell. Such a root of thoughts, so mild. You look at him. He only felt in his mind and looked down on him. Don't know if he's real. You causally say a sentence. And you have to go to hell for countless thousands of years. How is it so incredible? It is really incredible. The Buddha said it. It is true. It is so terrifying. His route of thoughts in one of his lifetimes was wrong and deviated, but he did not modify it. So, he continued downward with it. You are the same. You will always go down. If you refuse to listen to my teachings, you never apply the mind cultivating procedure, I teach you to cultivate the 5 wisdoms no matter what. If you refuse to find the root, dig it up, and remove it, and refuse to listen to your guru, it means that your first faith is gone. This faith is to connect with the guru. If the guru is a person who can represent Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and he teaches you to practice in this way, just listen to the teaching and just practice. I won't practice even if I die. I don't believe it when my guru talks about it so seriously. I don't have time now, so why should I find the root of thoughts and cultivate like this? I'd rather practice more Dharma rituals and recite tens of millions of mantras. Why do you want to listen to this guru, and waste your time looking for the root of thoughts? Then you will not look for it. Also take a look. After you have recited the mantra many times, you will be as virtuous, elegant and pure as you were in the first life. You will still have the retribution. Why? Because your mind is not good. You will have your retribution. It will get worse and worse. Therefore, this remembrance is very important for any Dharma practitioner. What will happen if I cultivate the remembrance in the 10 beliefs now? This remembrance must be very clearly connected to the awareness and must be cultivated correctly, because it involves the speed, how fast or slow your Dharma practice will be. If it deviates even a little bit, you will not be able to do it. It concerns whether you move downward every life, even to hell, so serious. So, we must remember one thing, the mind is very important. You can see clearly how this Dharma practitioner is described in the sutra on the life of Shakyamuni. He is said to be pure and virtuous. Being pure and virtuous can help him. It is his character that can help him. The primary retribution was only eating horse wheat for 90 days and it was over. It was also carried out in the same period. It turns out that in another life the residual disaster was to eat horse wheat for 90 days. The 2 were carried out at the same time. Therefore, it is said in the sutra that Buddha Shakyamuni ate horse wheat once for 90 days, not twice. This Brahmin Yantikali was incredible. He understood everything in his religion, so he was very arrogant. His arrogance also made him easily jealous, and had thoughts of hatred. So, do not always feel that you are great, you should always feel, I am not good enough. I should continue to work hard, and I should show my gratitude to these people. He may be better than me by 1 point. I may be better than him by 90 points. But he has 1 point that I do not have, not in my 90 points. I still have to learn from him. That is, even if this person only has 1 point of merit, well, I have 90 points of merit. As long as his merit is not among my 90 points of merit, I will learn from him. You should be like this so that you will not be arrogant. What will happen if you are arrogant? If you are arrogant, you will be jealous. If you are jealous, you will fall into hell. So, if you watch the 7 episodes of the Mind Training series, available on Dudjom Buddhist Association, International's TV channel on YouTube, there are clear explanations as to what the oral pith instructions are. I point to the oral pith instructions in each episode. What is the oral pith instruction of your Dharma practice? Remember one thing: firmly believe in cause and effect. How to believe it? Mind determines cause and effect. This is an equation and a law. What makes you have cause and effect? What brings you to hell? What makes you pay off by only eating horse wheat for 90 days? It is the mind. It is definitely a matter of the mind. So, if you see this case, 1 to 5 are almost the same. Some are almost the same. Number 6 differs greatly. And you can see that the results are so different. It is all because of the mind. Look at it carefully. No lie to you. Some people may disagree with the mind training I teach. Is it true that the mind determines cause and effect? As far as I know, all the exoteric Buddhists, or even the esoteric Buddhists say, it is because of my karma, the actions I have done, the things I have said, and the things I have done through body, speech, and mind to cause me to suffer from the retribution. Because there is this cause, there is such an effect. Yes, so look at it. You have only said to tell people to eat horse wheat. The evil words are the same. Your thoughts and malice are the same. There is only one more sentence when you say the evil words. There should not be such a huge difference, right? Most of the factors are the same, be it your ancillary conditions or virtuous conditions. I do not care about these. I only talk about my own body, speech, and mind. They are almost the same. So, there is no reason for the results to be so different. What determines that you will fall into hell? The mind. I am analyzing the case of Buddha Shakyamuni for you, as evidence, not from the esoteric Buddhist literature, or said by another Buddha. Then you should believe it. We in the Mind Training series, I gave 7 lectures in mind training. The equation I talked about is absolutely correct. This is how the law of causes and effects works. But no one understands it. If no one understands it, does it mean that it is not true? Is it karma rather than the mind? I say it is the mind. If you do not cultivate your mind with the mind cultivating procedure I teach you, and your mind is not good, you will still go to hell no matter how many millions of empowerments you are conferred, how many millions of rituals you have practiced to be able to fly, or if people see you looking like a deity. I hope that through this teaching you will finally understand what I am talking about. This is true, and it is what you really need to understand. I also talked about some other things in these 7 episodes. There is an equation, which is the criteria for judging right and wrong. What is it? It is right when the mind is enhanced, and it is wrong when the mind declines. If what you do, say, or think enhances the mind of yourself, bystanders, or people involved, then that is right. What does it mean to enhance one's mind? It means planting some good causes. The mind is developed towards the good. The awareness is good and correct. This is good. This kind of thing is right. But if it is going downward, even if you offer rice and do a lot of good deeds, but your mind is not good, and it makes other people's minds going downward, then such things are wrong. It is wrong to make people's minds going down. Remember it. Now we have finished talking about remembrance and how important it is. Let me talk about zeal, which is to practice the Dharma diligently and persistently. This is called zeal. Diligence, precision, and no deviation are a kind of awareness to make upward progress. What is wisdom? Wisdom refers to being intelligent to get to the position. It will never fail to get to the position, that is, to score 100 points to get to the required level. This is also a kind of awareness. So, what should we cultivate to achieve this kind of awareness? The 5 wisdoms. You must cultivate the 5 wisdoms to have this wisdom. If you do not cultivate them, you will not have it. So, you must cultivate them. You also need to cultivate the 10 beliefs. In other words, the reason why the Guru teaches you to practice the mind cultivating procedure is for you to develop the 5 wisdoms. You must do it. The meditational concentration. What is meditational concentration? Stability and concentration. It is a kind of awareness. If you do not have stability and concentration, and if your mind is too scattered, you cannot succeed in your Dharma practice. Stability means not deviating from a certain awareness. If your mind is distracted, you will deviate. Non-retrogression means that you will not be swayed or hindered. You know that there are many people who might follow many gurus of exoteric Buddhism and at times of esoteric Buddhism. They are swayed by others and then lost. You don't even know that those in the esoteric Buddhism may not be right. The exoteric Buddhist teachers are better. Sometimes the exoteric Buddhist practitioners are swayed. You should practice esoteric Buddhism. So, these people do not distinguish right from wrong. And they are shaken. Therefore, we should not destroy the faith carelessly, which is not good, because it will make people withdraw. This is a kind of awareness, so we cannot do this. What is dedication of merits? It is to share merits, just like pouring into a sea of merits of Buddhas. We must dedicate merits, which is a kind of awareness. What kind of awareness? You must learn how to merge with Buddhas. As such, you dedicate your merits in line with the Buddha's ocean. Otherwise, how can you be in line the Buddhas? How do you become a Buddha? Why do you want to merge with all sentient beings? Why do you want to dedicate your merits to the Buddha's ocean and to all sentient beings? This is because if one day we are to enter the Dharma realm, we must be in the state of oneness. We must merge with everything, including all sentient beings, into one body. Only then can we integrate into the state of oneness and become a Buddha. Therefore, this kind of training, dedication of merits, is a training to consolidate the foundation of your state of oneness. So, you must have. What is protection of the Dharma? It is to protect correct dharmas to benefit yourself and more sentient beings, to prevent them from being lost, and to keep the correct dharmas you practice without losing or deviating. This is very important. This is also a kind of awareness. Sila, moral discipline, means that you must guard your precepts and stay vigilant to not deviate from the right path. You must have this kind of vigilance, which is also a kind of awareness. As soon as you are slightly deviated, you must have this vigilance. That means observing the precepts. Aspiration means that you have to make a big body vow. There are many kinds of body vows, and they have many points. You must have 100 points. In the future, I will teach you how to score 100 points, but of course, if you get 3 points, you will get 3 points, which is all good. In this way, true bodhicitta and awareness will be developed. So, everything is connected one after another. If any link is deviated, everything will be deviated. Especially at the start, if you have found the wrong guru, and you give 100 points of faith to that wrong or deviated guru, you will be in trouble. If something happens to one of your links, you will not be able to complete the practice of the level without doubts and the 10 beliefs. And you will not be able to achieve success in the present lifetime through the current body. Well, it is stated in the Bodhisattva Kayura Mulakama Sutra that you have to practice these 10 beliefs for 1, or even 3 kalpa, before you can reach the level of initial residing and be called the Bodhisattva with initial resolute vows. How long is 1 kalpa? It is equal to 4.32 billion years. The Sutra for Humane Kings states that for 10,000 kalpa, you will follow the right path, but your progress and retreat will be uncertain. We are often like this, right? It is like a very light feather blowing in the wind, and things are uncertain. Then you really have to practice for 10,000 kalpa, that is, 10,000 kalpa. Treatise on the Awakening of Faith states that you really have to practice for 10,000 kalpa to cultivate the 10 beliefs before you can achieve success. If you practice the esoteric Buddhism and you want to become a Buddha, in the present lifetime, through the current body, your first step is in the 10 beliefs. You need to connect all 10 beliefs with the awareness, to practice, like what I am teaching you. Of course, I will continue to explain it in detail later. Because the 10 beliefs are interrelated and influence each other. If one of them is deviated, all of them will be deviated. The most important one is faith, that ranks first. If your faith is deviated or wavered, for example, following a wrong guru, you will be in big trouble. Because every link that follows will be affected. If he teaches you incorrectly, you will be taught incorrectly, and it will be difficult for you to practice the Dharma completely and perfectly. If that guru does not teach you to cultivate the awareness, you are still far from reaching the required level, right? You do not need to think accomplishing through the current body. You do not need to think about anything. The reason why it takes so long to cultivate the 10 beliefs is because all Dharma practitioners ignore and despise the serious practice of the 10 beliefs. If the 10 beliefs cannot be cultivated well, and no matter what skills you have or how good your rituals are, there is nothing you can do to make up for that shortcoming. The shortcoming of the mind will lead to the inability to achieve any success in Dharma practice. Even if you practice for 3 greater Samkhya Kalpa, you will not be able to achieve success in Dharma practice. Therefore, I am very nervous about the character of my disciples. Some of them have been with me for a long time. As soon as I discover the mind of a disciple being deviated, I will speak to him and I will correct him. Because the guru is an admonisher. If you cannot be that admonisher, who will? You not only have to give advice, but sometimes you have to discipline him severely. If you do not teach him when his mind is deviated, he will be miserable. He thinks that what you say is the most correct, but it turns out that you do not say anything when you see him making a mistake. It turns out that you are so cruel. Of course, if I scold you, would you leave and stop being my disciple? That would be terrible. I fear that you will leave and I will lose a disciple, so of course I will not scold you. Of course, I will praise you. As a result, your mind becomes more and more deviated. This guru is brutal, is he not? But you prefer to have him as your guru. If you like that guru who praises you and never scolds you, then you have found the wrong guru. If that guru never scolds you or points out where you are wrong, how can you continue to practice the Dharma without an admonisher? Do you know that the 3 greater Samkhya Kalpa are a very long time? So, we must remember that if you fail to cultivate the 10 beliefs, you will not be able to succeed in Dharma practice even if you practice for 3 major Samkhya Kalpa. Okay, how can I cultivate the 10 beliefs without deviating and become a Buddha in the present lifetime and through the current body, or escape reincarnation? We must use our mind cultivating procedure and the Diamond Sutra's oral pith instructions to develop the 5 wisdoms. Not to abide in any form, to work with Diamond Sutra's oral pith instructions. What is the most important? Not to abide anywhere in order to arouse one's awareness. Let's see now how important to cultivate it. Whether you say you do not want to fall into hell, wish to ascend and be reborn in the 3 upper realms, or whether you want to escape from reincarnation, or become a Buddha, you all need it. What do you need? To transform the mind into wisdom. The mind will be controlled by various pulling forces, which will lead you to fall into hell. But if you know how to transform the mind into wisdom, you can resist this kind of pulling forces, and you will not fall into the 3 lower realms. We can ascend to the 3 upper realms. So, this is a very important practice method of ascending the 3 upper realms. Or it is a very important practice method for escaping from reincarnation, or even the most important practice method for becoming a Buddha. What is needed? Transform the mind into wisdom. How to transform the mind into wisdom then? If you want to succeed, firstly, modify your behavioral formulas. You must transform your mind under the control of various pulling forces into your own awareness as the dominant one. The main direction of Dharma practice is to enhance the awareness, train to develop the 5 wisdoms and apply the mind cultivating procedure to gradually establish the 5 wisdoms, train for the behavioral formulas of emptiness, and use Diamond Sutra's practice methods to work with emptiness and apply and cultivate in daily life. It is stated in the Diamond Sutra that the reason why these sentient beings are able to succeed in Dharma practice because they have no forms of self, people, sentient beings, longevity, dharmas and non-dharmas. Let me give a recap. Forms are referred to appearance, thoughts and opinions. Not clinging to the form of self means that I do not have an attachment to my own thoughts. As for the form of people, that is, when interacting with people, I have no attachment to them. The form of sentient beings is the attachment that arises when I interact with sentient beings, and we must get rid of it. The form of longevity means that if I am very persistent on this practice method, I will be successful, live long and live forever. If I practice the deity and can visualize his appearance, I can become a Buddha. Or, that person is very powerful and superior to others. I admire him. This is an attachment and we should not have it. No forms of dharmas. What does the form of dharmas mean? The forms of dharma refer to all dharmas, that is, things in a dualistic or multiplistic state. What are they? There are conditioned dharmas. If I am not attached to these, I can enter the state of oneness. What is no form of non-dharmas? No form of non-dharmas means emptiness, neither existence nor voidness, which can help you become a Buddha. They are unconditioned dharmas. I do not even cling to this kind of unconditioned dharmas that can help me become a Buddha. This is called no form of non-dharmas. That is when you can truly enter the state of oneness. That is, what is the oral pith instruction of Diamond Sutra, not to abide in anything and not to abide in forms, referred to? It means that one should not be attached to the forms of 6 dusts and 4 forms, which have been explained before and I will not repeat here. If we succeed in doing both, we can enter the first stage of treatment. What is the goal? To release the awareness. We must not abide in any form, to release the awareness. I have taught some oral pith instructions and practical methods in the 29th episode of the Compassion series, but they were not complete. I only touched on it and will talk about it again, when we have the opportunity. What is our second stage? It is to enhance the awareness, and the goal is to not to abide anywhere in order to arouse one's awareness. The mind here is the awareness that solves all the troubles in a dualistic or multiplistic state of the 3 upper realms. If you can do it, it means that you have achieved no form of dharmas. This is the second step. The first step is to eliminate the forms of 6 dusts. Without 4 forms is called not abiding in any form. The second step is to enhance the awareness, which can only be achieved by no form of non-dharmas. The third stage is to complete and perfect the awareness. You have to lead the mind of not to abide anywhere in order to arouse one's awareness into emptiness, neither existence nor voidness. It is the training of awareness to enter the state of oneness. That is, you can achieve no form of non-dharmas. The third step is to achieve no form of non-dharmas to complete and perfect your awareness. Only then can you succeed in not abiding in the forms of non-dharmas. That is, we can do it if we are able to develop the Dharmadhatu. The meaning of not abiding in the form of non-dharmas is that even if I can successfully enter emptiness, neither existence nor voidness, or enter the second stage, or the third stage, after I succeed, I will not be attached to my success. I will not go around telling others that I am so great. I have achieved the second stage. I have accomplished the first, second and third stages. I am not even attached to this, and I do not show off. This is called no form of non-dharmas. This is truly called a kind of Dharmadhatu. We are now teaching you how to use the mind-cultivating procedure in conjunction with the Diamond Sutra to develop the 5 wisdoms. We now go back to the case of the Buddha eating horse wheat as an example. Our mind-cultivating procedure has 5 steps. The first step is to develop the wisdom of equality. How do we develop the wisdom of equality? It is to accept one being respected. Why do so many people respect this person for no reason? Even the king made offerings to him. He has received great offerings. There must be a reason. We cannot despise him. Why? Because we must firmly believe in cause and effect, as the law of causes and effects are equal principles. He must have planted certain causes to receive such offerings from people. You may say, I don't believe he will really become a Buddha. Is it a Buddha? Is it because he's become a Buddha? Or because he's lied to many people? He must have lied well to receive such offerings. This is not the point. The point is that he must have planted some causes in his past life, so he receives such great offerings. This is called the law of equality. The law of equality is not for you to judge or measure. He hasn't really become a Buddha. He lies so people make offerings to him. It is another matter. In short, if someone makes offerings to him, it must be that he has this kind of blessing in his past lives. This is called equality. It is not up to you to decide whether he must become a Buddha before he can accept such a generous offering. It is not for you to comment or make a judgment like a judge. It is unfair for you to judge. Because the true law of cause and effect is a law of equality. If you can firmly believe in cause and effect, you can develop the wisdom of equality. If you accept this, then you have developed it. Then, you can use your mind to ask questions. As your own mind, how do you come up with such thoughts? How could you show such emotions? Why do you not believe and doubt others? Why do you have greed, hatred and delusion? Where is the root? What is the cause and condition? Search one by one. If you can use these three, questioning, analysis, and root seeking, you can find out the root, and then you will have the wisdom of discernment. What root? Your root is evil words and evil thoughts. As soon as you hear someone say the word, Guru, or as soon as you hear someone say the word, Buddha, you will immediately despise this person, and then you will come out with bad words such as saying, go eat horsewheat. This is your root of thoughts. If you can find and remove it, your awareness will continue to move upward. You will not go downward, or even fall into hell. You really must find the root. What is the meaning of all-accomplishing wisdom? Find out the root and you must deal with it. How can we use our awareness to solve any worries and problems? There must be solutions. For example, if you believe deeply in cause and effect, then you can resolve your mind of doubts. If you firmly believe that there must be a reason, there is no need for you to worry about what the reason is. In short, he can receive such a big offering, right? Secondly, rejoice in merit. When you see a person's merit, you will admire him. There must be a reason why he is so respected by others. That's it, praise. You do not have to go to hell. Accept the advice. I accidentally say some bad things. Accept the advice, repent and strengthen my determination to stay away from hell. It turns out that a word I say will lead me to hell. That is not good. Pay attention to nothing else and repent first. So, what forms should we not abide in? We should not abide in the form of others having more honors than ourselves. We should not abide in such a form. Do not think why he is better than me. I think I teach the sutras better than him. Why is he better than me? Do not abide in these anymore. Do not abide in these superficial forms. You make a judgment and say that he is not a Buddha without analyzing and verifying the evidence. How do you know, right? You should not abide in the form of swearing. In short, you curse a few words whenever you are unhappy. Never do this. If you abide in forms, it will be accompanied by malicious thoughts and words. So, what forms should we not abide in? Do not be afraid to tell the truth through repentance. This is the key. When you tell the truth and repent, and many bystanders will listen, you will be able to completely eliminate your bad karma. And when you do this, what do you do it with? Compassion and that kind of awareness. When you complete and perfect all of these, do it so that you can achieve the mirror-like wisdom. It means that the first stage of treatment is to release that awareness, and the goal is to have that awareness of not abiding in any form, if you can do it. So, among our 10 beliefs, it turns out that after we release the awareness, you will find that your faith can be divided into 2 types. The first is theory, and the second is practice. The theory is that I have to believe deeply in cause and effect, which is the theory of Buddhism. If you rely solely on theory to cultivate, you will need 3 greater Samkhya Kalpa to achieve it. As long as you persist in these 10 beliefs, you will achieve it. But it will take 3 Asamkhya Kalpa. What is practical training? You need to find a guru, and you have to believe deeply in this guru. And this guru has rules. He is not simply who he says he is. That is, he must be a representative of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. He is a collective body of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. It means that he must understand emptiness, right? He must know how to teach the Dharma, right? He will always teach the Dharma. You must believe deeply in this kind of guru. Why? Because of this kind of guru, you can cultivate by relying on him alone. Why? He knows theory, he knows how to make you believe in cause and effect, he knows how to teach you to cultivate the awareness, and he also knows how to teach you to cultivate emptiness. Everything is complete. That is, theory and practice. And he also teaches you how to visualize, passes on the rituals, and he teaches how to cultivate to have the awareness. Given these, you can rely on him alone. That is, he is the collective body of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. If he is not, it means that he is not good enough. As long as you firmly believe in this guru, you will have both theory and practice. If you work with the other 9 beliefs, then you will achieve quickly. This is how you can achieve quicker accomplishment. It is for us to apply the mind-cultivating procedure, develop the 5 wisdoms and work with Diamond Sutra's oral pith instructions to achieve success. Of course, how fast it is depends on how much you apply it. So, what do we need to understand? Where does our awareness arise? Guard and practice the 10 beliefs, so that our wisdom of discernment will be developed. We use our wisdom of discernment to guard this and cultivate the 10 beliefs. Then, we can develop these awarenesses. When we develop the awareness and benefit from the 10 beliefs, what benefits do we have? To benefit all sentient beings, including our enemies, we must use our 10 beliefs to help them. Use the 10 beliefs to cultivate our own awareness, and use the 10 beliefs to help all sentient beings. In this way, the wisdom of equality and the wisdom of discernment can be developed. We also need to develop the awareness on the mind and the actions, and we must work with the 10 beliefs to solve any troubles and problems. As such, we can develop our all-accomplishing wisdom. That is, if we can develop all. If we also do not abide in forms successfully, we can further develop the mirror-like wisdom. In other words, we can achieve the second stage of treatment and enhance the awareness on not to abide anywhere in order to arouse one's awareness. The third stage is that we must not be attached to the fact that we can successfully develop those 4 kinds of wisdom. For example, if you have entered the third stage, do not be arrogant. When you have developed these 4 kinds of wisdom, you must successfully lead these 4 kinds of wisdom into the state of emptiness, neither existence nor voidness. You are no longer attached. If you are not attached to this kind of achievement, it means that you do not abide in the form of non-dharmas. It is then possible to enter the third stage, to complete and perfect the awareness, namely, to lead not to abide anywhere in order to arouse one's awareness into the state of emptiness, neither existence nor voidness. That is, to sum up, the wisdom of equality in our mind-cultivating procedure can only be achieved by accepting and deeply believing in cause and effect. Once our questioning, analysis, and root-seeking are completed, we can successfully develop the wisdom of discernment. If we can successfully treat these bad roots, we can develop the all-accomplishing wisdom. When we successfully develop these 3 kinds of wisdom, successfully solve the problem, correct the shortcomings of our minds, and we do not abide in any forms and are not attached, that is, we can acquire the mirror-like wisdom. After acquiring the mirror-like wisdom, I also lead it into the state of oneness, emptiness, neither existence nor voidness. Moreover, I will not abide in such a form, which means that I am not attached. Then, I can develop the Dharmadhara too. During the process, I would do everything with the awareness of compassion and bodhicitta. That is, I can successfully achieve 100% perfect enlightenment of bodhicitta. In other words, I can become a Buddha. What is the goal of our mind-cultivating procedure? It is to integrate the 10 beliefs into the awareness, and train us to develop the 5 wisdoms. What are the 10 beliefs? As mentioned earlier, we need to integrate these 10 kinds of beliefs into a kind of awareness. Why? Because these 10 kinds of beliefs are all a kind of awareness, as I have said. You need to have these 10 kinds of awareness, to train you to develop the 5 wisdoms. These 10 kinds of awareness will become your awareness and can help you develop other awareness. You can slowly improve your awareness to the point where you no longer abide in forms. This is how we cultivate the 10 beliefs. We also, not to abide anywhere in order to arouse one's awareness, to work the 10 beliefs to thoroughly address all difficulties and shortcomings in our mind and daily life. We also, not to abide anywhere in order to arouse one's awareness, to complete and perfect the 3rd stage, the perfect enlightenment. We must be like this. This is our goal. Remember, not abiding in forms is not your general understanding that accepting means doing nothing. Okay, I have accepted. What do you do after you have accepted that he is a Buddha? Think about your thoughts. Did you almost want to scold him earlier? We have things to do. Accepting does not mean doing nothing. We must work with the 10 beliefs, but not to be attached. Not to abide anywhere in order to arouse one's awareness should be a kind of active acceptance. We have 3 stages to do. After you accept it, there is still a lot to do later. How active it is, right? It means facing it actively, not sitting there and doing nothing. We must use the agile awareness to work with the 10 beliefs, develop our wisdom and reflect on all our actions. This is the starting point of all Dharma practice, which is to train the 10 beliefs, the 10 kinds of awarenesses. Therefore, the secret to an essence of becoming a Buddha in the present lifetime through the current body has been answered to you. After Buddha Shakyamuni became a Buddha, he still suffered 10 kinds of evil retribution. Can the same types of evil retribution be carried out at the same time to be retributed? The answer is yes. Secondly, can the same types of retribution suffered by ordinary people be carried out at the same time? The answer is yes. Will the consequences of the same type and the same behavior lead to the same retribution? No, it is determined by one's mind. It is the same that I scold people saying that you go eat horse wheat. I also come up with an evil thought saying that I really look down on you for calling yourself a Buddha. Everyone says this. But their minds are different, the retribution will be different. Will an implicated bystander also be involved in the incident and suffer the same retribution? He will be involved in the same incident, but he may not necessarily receive the same retribution. It depends on his mind. If someone acts as an admonisher, on the other hand, he will not have the same bad retribution. Instead, he will receive good retribution. What will he do in heaven? Go to heaven and enjoy delicious food. This is good retribution. So, bystanders with different minds are also implicated in the incident. Can they have different retributions? The answer is yes. Is it enough to be implicated in an incident and have bad retribution by only saying something in agreement? Yes, you must not echo it, because if you echo the evil words, you will be implicated. Even if you echo it while dreaming, you will still go to hell. Even if you watch YouTube by the TV and agree with others to certain evil deeds, you will still suffer the same retributions. Remember, even if you agree with them, it will be the same. That is impossible. It should be a milder punishment for me, because I only echo it. I am not the mastermind. It will be all the same. If the evil deeds are committed only with words and thoughts, but not with the body, will the evil retribution be lighter? It will be a little lighter, but not too much, because the thought is the most important. And the thought is the protagonist. It will only be a little bit different. If one is pure and noble in virtue, will the evil retribution be lessened if he commits evil deeds? If your mind is better, it will be much lighter. In the initial stage of Dharma practice, one must reach the full score of level without doubts, the 10 beliefs, before entering another stage. Can we skip a level? Many gurus now ask their disciples to skip levels, but we do not allow it. We must make sure their minds reach a state where we think they are stable, correct and have no deviations before we can teach them more things. So, some disciples are dissatisfied with our slow teaching approach, because they do not know that I actually teach very fast. Do you know that those people do not even teach you the 10 beliefs? So you really will not be able to succeed in Dharma practice even for 10,000 kalpa. You may say, no, why can't I complete this ritual for 10,000 kalpa? Because he has not taught you the 10 beliefs. He has not taught to cultivate the awareness. Let me tell you. You will never succeed in Dharma practice even if you practice for 3 greater Samkhya Kalpa. But you often say, when I move to another guru, who immediately confers me a few empowerments and passes on a few rituals, I will definitely achieve success faster than you. If this guru does not teach you the mind cultivating procedure, and how to cultivate the awareness, your mind will be poor thinking it is okay to visualizing a deity. Then, you do not even need to think about success. Skip a level. It is not possible to skip a level. In fact, it is not possible to skip a level. It is clearly stated in the sutra that you must cultivate the 10 beliefs for 10,000 kalpa completely and perfectly before you can move to the next level. But if you skip a level now, you are deceiving yourself. Your guru is lying to you because he is afraid that you would leave. He is afraid that you would leave if he does not pass on the rituals and empowerments. That guru is lying to you. And you are lying to yourself, too. In this way, one deceives another for the rest of your lives. It would be too late that you know you have been deceived at the moment of your death. I am afraid that you will suffer bad retribution. You fail your Dharma practice, and cannot escape from reincarnation. You cannot go to a Buddha's pure land and you cannot become a Buddha. You cannot achieve anything. Of course, it is all because you skip a level. So, can you skip a level? You have to be really strict. So, do not always say that your guru does not teach you anything. He teaches you many things, and it only depends on whether you are willing to learn. In the practice of 10 beliefs, the level without doubts, every link is related to each other and interlocked. Can you selectively practice only 1 or 2 kinds of faith? It is impossible. All 10 beliefs must be cultivated. The esoteric Buddhism particularly emphasizes the first of the 10 beliefs: you must have faith in the guru. So, I only need to believe in the first one, and the other 9 are not needed. Of course not. This guru is to teach how to cultivate the other 9, which means you must practice them all. Can you ignore them? Of course not. You say, I've followed so many gurus and they never asked me to cultivate the 10 beliefs. They only conferred empowerments and passed on rituals. There is no need to be so troublesome. No need to practice the mind cultivating procedure, and cultivate the 5 wisdoms, etc. This means that you have followed a wrong guru. This guru is not a representative of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So, he does not teach you these. How can we cultivate the 10 beliefs without deviating and become a Buddha in the present lifetime through the current body? This has been explained earlier. We will stop here today.